evening. This is going to be the fourth video in our series for the CML Day. We celebrate CML Day every year on the 22nd of September. A special night tonight. We're going to bring in a few panelists, some of them local, and also somebody very important and dear to us that will be dialing in from abroad. So, and for that reason as well, the medium will be in English, but in between, if there's any terminology that I need to elaborate in Malay, I would do so with the help of our friends later on. So, in collaboration with the Max family, again, I'm going to first of all invite my colleague, Dr. Goh I Sim. Dr. Goh I Sim is a consultant hematologist based in Penang. Dr. Goh, how are you this evening? Okay, there might be a lag there. I'm going to also invite Dr. Razak. Dr. Razak
Hello,
from
Dr.
our
Hari.
third
Fine,
video.
thank you.
Hello, Dr. Goh. And next one is Dr. Razak. Dr. Razak is familiar to us. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Razak.
Waalaikumsalam. Good evening, Dr. Goh, Dr. Harris.
Dr. Razak was
Hello.
also present on the third video that we launched a week ago. And on this auspicious day to celebrate the World CML Day, it's very apt also to invite well, I shouldn't say a colleague, but somebody that inspired us actually in our patient advocacy program in Malaysia. She's actually, well, we dearly call her Pat. So it's Mrs. Garcia-Gonzalez. She's actually dialing in from Seattle. And she is actually the founder and the lady behind the Max Foundation and one of the local chapter we daily call Max Family. And so, Pat, how are you doing this morning? It's morning over there, I gather.
Very well, thank you for having me. Wonderful
Yeah.
to see my friends in Malaysia.
Thank you very much, Pat. So, just giving some flavor to the listeners and why the phrase 22nd September is important. I think one of the ways for us to describe this is actually how our body was actually coded when we were born. So we have this series of proteins that codes everything. And in patient with CML, there is actually a problem with the chromosome 9 and 22. So they actually get jumbled up together, and as a result, they produce a protein that's, well, in nature is not supposed to be there. And this interplay between chromosome 9 and 22, September 22nd, that's actually what we in the CML community celebrate as the World CML Day. And this is a very significant finding in terms of the disease process because it's revolutionized the way that we look at CML as a disease and the way that we treat cancer in general, because this is the very first time that we are able to actually go to the chromosome, to the molecular level and see how the disease actually developed. And luckily with that, we were able to actually find the target for treatment. And the treatment is what has actually changed the way that we actually treat we treat CML. In the old days, before the advent of these new targeted drugs, we treat the CML similar to other cancer. We treat them with chemotherapy, and with chemotherapy, there are price to pay, and also with all the risks that come with it. And I'm just not going to talk more about it. I'm going to ask Dr. Razak, one of our CML patients, from his experience between going through chemotherapy and also going through what effectively is a medication or a tablet. What's been your experience, Dr. Razak?
Hi, thank you, Dr. Haris, for having me here tonight. So I guess in this, I was so lucky when I was diagnosed in 2006. This targeted therapy has been quite wide available in Malaysia. Being I still remember when I was a student in medical schools, treating CML is so different. When I learned CML, is chemotherapy, or the most is interferon. But when I was myself diagnosed with CML, I was wondering what is the latest treatment. So I feel very glad and fortunate that it can be just treated with simple medications, and with very least side effects. That is the most important thing, or the most important aspect in patient treatment, because patients expect that they will get treatment without much problem to them. So with the arrival of Gleevec, I think it is very, very fortunate for us with CML.
Mm. And then why we actually were feeling glad that Pat is here, because Pat actually played a major role in allowing access to this newfound miracle drug to the more general setting. Imagine back in 2003 when the drugs just been launched abroad, getting access to new drugs in well, we should call ourselves a third world country where access is limited. So it's actually important that we actually get um, a big body to actually bring the medication to us. And this is where I would like to hear a bit more from Pat about her efforts before.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Harris. I'll say, if I can first, I did not think I wanted to grow up to be a cancer advocate. I think nobody decides as a child that, oh, what I want to be when I grow up is a cancer advocate. I think cancer finds us in our journey. In my case, it was my stepson Max. It was so already 30 years ago that I learned for the first time about chronic myeloid leukemia, and this was before these great medicines that you have
Mm.
that we have
A-
today.
And Max is your son.
Yes, and he was 14. And at the time, like you said, he got chemotherapy, and also we were told if we could find a donor for a bone marrow match, then he could perhaps be cured. But of course, we never found a donor. So Max
Mm.
passed away. He was 17 years old, and it was, when I learned about this new therapy, this that is called Gleevec, it was really a dream for me to be able to play some role in making sure that other families didn't have to go through what we went through. And especially I think that there is um, only one thing worse than hearing that your loved one has cancer, and it is that to know that there's a treatment available, but because of the place you are, you can't have access to it. So the Max Foundation partnered with Novartis early on in the launch of Gleevec to bring a Gleevec to patients in countries where it would otherwise not be available. And we did it in a new way that had never been done before, because it was a sort of direct to patient access to the drug. And so the role of the Max Foundation in this partnership was to work with physicians such as yourself, identify patients, make sure that they are properly diagnosed with CML, and that they need the drug, and then inform the company to send the drug to that physician for that patient. So one by one in 80 countries around the world. We worked very, very hard, and I think in a revolutionary way to demonstrate that it is possible to actually treat cancer and to treat CML in a country like Malaysia.
And obviously, you can't do that alone without the help of a local advocacy group. And I would like to introduce Mei Ching in here. Mei Ching, how are you, Mei Ching?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Harris, and hi to everybody.
And Mei Ching is actually our local Max representative for Malaysia. And I would like to hear from Mei Ching what her journey has been since Glivac's been available locally in Malaysia.
Right. So first of all, I'll say so now I'm with the Max Foundation for the past 16 years. So it's a long journey. So how did that happen? I think like what Pat had said, somehow the opportunity just came, and it's not me finding the opportunity. So I never heard of the Max Foundation before, obviously. And the opportunity came through one of the doctors and a nurse that already working on this program of access to imatinib with the Max Foundation. So that's how I kind of like get into this opportunity and started with the Max Foundation. So initially really the task was being the connector between the Max Foundation Seattle and the patients here. So very administrative and very much focusing on the program.
Yeah.
And in this picture, you see that
This is from 2009, and I think
yeah.
this wasn't the last time that Pat was here. You came back after 2009, didn't you, Pat?
Oh yes, I have been back in Malaysia many, many times.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
but
this
this
was
early days.
so my,
Yeah.
my hair was still black, yes. And then
Right.
next to me was Mei Ching, and then Pat, and then at the far end there is actually one of my senior colleague, Dr. Alan Tay, and he was the past president of the Malaysian Society of Hematologists. So this was one of our local meeting where Max Foundation actually had a session of patient advocacy, isn't it? One of the very first ones.
That's correct. So, Dr. Harris, I just want to add in, like when I started, it's very much on the program administrative, and after that, after a while, then I realized that there's no communication between the patients, like patients A and patients B and patient C. So, and I talked to Pat, and obviously, also I learned from my other colleagues from other region. There's some kind of like a concept called support group. So,
Which was relatively alien to us, wasn't it, in Malaysia back then?
exactly, yeah. So what's support group? Like we don't really know, but um, I'm just actually like grab on one what do you call that? Like one motto on during that time. It's like just do it, just do it, just start a group, and that's how I call up Dr. Raza. If Dr. Raza still remember,
Of course I do.
you probably came to
That
the
was
meeting without knowing anything to expect.
well.
Yes,
He was. His hands were twisted into it. Was it? He didn't have a choice.
yeah.
And I think before we move on, one such patient that benefited from the program is Lily. Lily, hi. How are you there behind there? Can you hear us?
Hello, hi.
So, Lily, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Dilly. So I was diagnosed with CML in I think February or March 2014, actually by Dr. Alan Tay. So I'm on Gleevec, 400
That
milligrams.
talented there.
Yes, that's him. And it's been a good journey so far. I have a lot of support from the Max Foundation and also the Max family. When I was diagnosed, it was a very bad time. Like, okay, I'm in my prime, I have cancer, and then there's this whole like huge medical bill that's associated with that. Then we went online, we actually found Ampang Hospital, and through Ampang Hospital, I was connected through to Max family, who introduced me to a patient, which was Billing, who told me actually it's quite okay. You just take a pill every day at the same time. There are certain foods that she avoids when she takes the pill because it gives her nausea. It's normal. You eat a full meal, you take water. Your face will swell up like mine now, but it's normal. It's okay. It's a side effect. Your hair will drop, but in the
Yeah.
end, you will get well.
Oh
And
dear.
it's very non-invasive. No chemotherapy.
That's isn't it? We're moving away from having this idea that when we have cancer, it has to be chemotherapy, and this sort of like started the ball rolling to another mode of treatment, isn't it? But we're not going to just talk all about the problem with cancer and all that. There's always a silver lining, and
Mm.
with the Max family, we actually came a long way. And from this photo over here, I think Dr. Go is just behind there. If we can make this bigger, well, that's as big as I can make it. That's Dr. Go, right at the far end, in purple top over there. Dr. Go, do you remember this meeting? I think Dr. Go is muted over there. Yeah, yeah, I think we have some problem with her connection just now. Okay, I just put her to the side first, and this is actually a meeting in Penang. Mei Ching, were you there?
Oh yes, was there? Can't you
Uh-huh.
recognize me?
Well, yeah, oh yes, of course, at the front, right at the front there. Oh dear, I'll get into trouble if I couldn't. Dr. Razak wasn't there, was
I
it? That
wasn't there.
you weren't there. Though this is actually a meeting in one of the northern states
Mm.
where Dr. Go actually is the main consultant in this hospital. So this must be from a few years back because some of the people I recognize there has already left the group. Some of the advocates, some of the people that were with Max family has already left the group. I think from there. This is another set of photo. That's Dr. Go again there. This is actually in Penang. It's actually courtesy of Major Hassan, one of the patients that we featured in one of our interviews. Okay. So next one, maybe Mei Ching can elaborate on this one because she's there posing as usual, and that's actually
Oh,
with our Minister of Health next
yeah, the
to
form.
Dr. Raza. Yeah, Dr. Raza is
Yeah.
rubbing shoulders with the politician, obviously.
Wow, Raza. So
And
yeah, so this was a walk that the the Ministry of Malaysia was organizing. It must be back in 2019, if I remember correctly. It
Mm.
was before the pandemic time. So it was done during February in collaboration with the World Cancer Day.
mhm,
And so these people that you see in all blues, right, is basically representing a Max family, and it's actually members of Max family. So that day, Lily was there as well. So Lily and Razak,
that's Lily
I
at the bottom there.
yeah, I remember that we were walking and running and all that. Of course, the trail was long. Then suddenly we kind of like somebody from our group say, "Hey, minister is just in front, so let's go and grab a photo opportunity with him." So that's how we had this photo.
Sounds like you guys were stalking him.
Yeah,
Did
we're
he
chasing
send it?
him.
We chased him.
Literally.
And then the bodyguard didn't come and chase you off. Thank God.
No.
Nah.
So that sounds fun, and I think this is another program. Also, this one is also in Kuala Lumpur. I think I left early that day, as usual. So there's Dr. Jamila. I think this is the. I noticed that over the last few years, the number of people turning up, not just the patient themselves, but members of their family. The support has been really great, and they were really open. They were really, you can appreciate the togetherness when they actually come together. And it's a shame that with the pandemic, we had to put all these activities to the back burner because of all the restrictions that we have. So hopefully in the next coming few months we are able to actually meet each other again. So in situation in a meeting like this, what are your goals actually? I'll start with Dr. Razak. What were your goals in having meetings with the family and the caregivers such as this?
Yeah, I think in this kind of meetings, we sort of like provide a platform, a place, for everybody to come together, mingles around. What I notice is that when patients and caregivers they come together, they sort of like they are not meeting for the first time. I mean, instantaneously they became very close. They talk to each other, regardless whether you are young or old, whether you are from different races. It's so unique that Max Family can pull off this together in one such meeting. So I was so glad that we are doing this.
Yeah, and
Of course,
meeting.
of course, with the presence of the doctors, they are happy to see, especially this particular time, we have a few doctors that came, to give the education talk.
And Pat, I noticed that similar program is actually been done in other countries such as India and a few parts of Africa as well. You know, from my dealings with you and also other member of the Max Foundation, you guys are very active when it comes to getting the information to the masses. And are you at the moment with the pandemic? You still doing it virtually, maybe?
Yes, obviously, the pandemic has been very difficult for everyone. But, I just want to say that the importance of the patient support groups, because, first of all, when you're diagnosed with CML or really any cancer, you are in shock and so much fear. And then you have your doctor that tells you the medicine part. But there is nothing like meeting another person that's going through the same thing that you're going through. That's something that only another patient can give you, their
Yeah.
experience and feeling like a family that I belong. We are a new family, and I think that all over the world we have seen what Dr. Razak was saying, that immediate closeness between patients. Like we are now part of something that we can support each other. And in a disease, especially like chronic myeloid leukemia, where you have to have treatment for so many years, understanding, educating is very important. So we have worked with patients such as Dr. Razak and Lily to really create strong patient organizations. And of course, the pandemic made us very difficult to get together because safety of the patients is most important. But thanks to technology and Zoom, we have been able to continue some kind of support through Zoom meetings. It's not the same, obviously, as getting together in person, but temporarily we can continue to give support to patients virtually.
And Lily, how greatly have you find this avenue, with patient advocacy, even though even though you had to search long and hard for it? What's been your experience so far?
Through the group, it's given a lot of there's a lot of emotional support given by the fellow patients. They talk about the daily side effects, how it affects them, how they counter it. They ask, okay, like especially during the pandemic, there were new rules at the hospital to take care of the safety. Then somebody will ask, okay, so whether I go when I turn up for my appointment, and somebody will respond. And I think it gives a lot of assurance to the patient. So through the group, it has given me a lot of assurance that I will be fine. My family feels very assured that I feel assured that I'll be fine, and they support me in the background. I think a lot of patients feel more empowered. They feel that they understand the disease, the treatment, the importance of compliance to the drug, why you need to go for monitoring. It makes them feel stronger, and they feel comforted, they feel knowledgeable. And I think this aspect of cancer treatment has can translate to how should I say to other aspects of your life, like in your family relationships, in your work. And I think for me that has helped me to be a stronger person, that I can I can do this. But I can't
Yeah,
do this alone. I have there's a huge group of patients that are also doing it together with me, with us.
yeah, of course. And I think, every little things help. This is actually me from 2006. So I was still young and scrawny then, black hair, obviously.
Hello.
So so actually I've been my background was I did my training in the UK, and in the UK, for every other disease there's always a support group. And sometimes support group can form a barrier sometimes to getting the right information to your patient. But since the very beginning, when I got myself involved with Max Family, I always find it as a breath of fresh air, and I get to learn from the patient. I get to learn from other advocates and other doctors, and they actually have programs that actually connect us, the educators, as a network with colleagues in the Southeast Asia region. And I find that was actually great and helped me in actually broaden my horizon, so to speak. And I think maybe Pat can talk about the Rising Sun program that Max Foundation has.
Yes, like you mentioned, like we mentioned before, we have done similar. We have formed or support the formation of patient organizations in many countries. And there's one thing being a patient and meeting with other patients, but those sort of leaders in the groups that are leading these organizations, it's important to build capacity of not just now how to be a patient, but how to be a leader of an organization, how to create programs, how to learn to be a patient advocate. And so we established a conference early on to build capacity of patient leaders, and now to get the leaders of these patient organizations to meet with each other once a year and share experiences at let's say the next level, from the organizational level. And it has been also a really wonderful experience for many
Yeah.
years to be able to share for 2 or 3 days together, and learn how to make our organization stronger, and learn from experiences, because now you are leading an organization, you have to think about fundraising, and you have to think about organizing programs, and it's a whole other level of education that we need. So that's what Rising Sun has been.
Yes, I think this was one such program there with that's Datuk Chang and our own Dr. Razak there having a conversation, shall we say? And I think this exchange of ideas and this connection has been very important. And it's not all work, isn't it? Some fun as well. And Mei-Ching, what's happening here?
Wow, let's guess what's happening here. That was the morning of July, I can't remember the date, July 2017,
Mm,
the morning that before we climbed Mount Kinabalu.
yes, and there was some story behind it, wasn't it? A couple of weeks after your climb, was it a couple of weeks or is it less than that, where we had an earthquake there, wasn't it?
It was before.
Was before.
It was
Okay.
before. Yeah, so it was
Mm,
before. We were a little bit worried, during the climb and all that, but we were kind of
mm,
like, of course, I know
okay.
we done a lot of work before the
Yeah.
climb to just make sure that it was safe to
Yeah.
climb.
And the
And
purpose of the climb,
okay,
what was
sure.
it for?
Yeah, so this is a activity that organized by the Max Foundation that is called Max Global Experience. So what we're trying to do in this Max Global Experience is to bring a team of um, the supporters from internationally, like abroad, to come together and meet with the local groups, to kind of like exchange the idea as well as create opportunity for people to learn what is the ground situation in a country. For this one is obviously Malaysia. What is the ground situation in Malaysia in terms of treatment access, supports, as well as what are the challenges and what could be done to kind of like close the gap. So that
Mm,
was the key reason behind it. And
mm,
also, I forgot about this very important point.
all right.
Why Mount Kinabalu and why Malaysia? If any one of us know another patient of us, Tony, the famous singer.
Yes. I
So
haven't got his picture here. Yeah.
yeah, so I should
Mm,
actually tell this story. So
mm,
Tony told Pat and myself, how he know that he has CML is 10 years ago. So that was 10 years ago from 2017. That was at 2007. He climbed Mount Kinabalu with a group of friends and he couldn't finish the climb. And because of that, he feel that he must be having something wrong with her body. So when he returned to KL, he decided to go for a checkup. That's how he found out that he has CML. And
mm,
Tony told us that one of the dreams that he had is to be able to return to Mount K and
mm,
to climb the mountain successfully.
yeah.
So that was also one of the reasons that we do it together with Tony to kind of like let's go and help Tony to achieve the dream. And he succeeded.
Yes.
Yeah, he
So
succeeded.
just to wrap everything up before we finish, for me, it's a breath of fresh air. It's something that I hope will continue to go on and actually become bigger. The Max family, or the actual connection that we have here. And before we finish, I would like to go round the group, and um, to have your say and your wish for the World CML Day. We'll start off with Lily.
I I think for World CML Day, my wish on a personal level is for actually all patients, not just those with okay. We'll start with patients with CML to get access to treatment and education through their local programs, and also that every other cancer community should have a supporting patient group. It makes a big difference to
Mm.
one.
And Dr. And your wish for World CMS Day, is there any words that you want to impart to the listeners?
Me.
Yes, yeah. Just Lily, yes.
Cancer is not a barrier
Mhm.
to anything. If anything, if the cancer treatment or the cancer path does make you stronger.
Thank you very
Don't be
much,
afraid.
Lily. Inspirational. And Dr. Razak, your thoughts about the World
World
CML Day,
CML.
and what's your hope, and what would be your phrase to the listeners?
Okay, I guess having CML Day is not about you know uh, telling you to remember that you are having CML, but I think it's more of to enjoy life while you're living with CML, and that's how I take it from every time when we celebrate World CML Day. So it is also like to cherish whatever experience that we share together with the rest of the patients. So I wish that all patients could, be more take control of themselves, knowing their own CML diseases, how to manage. I wish that patients, you know, be more in control, that kind of stuff. Not
Yeah.
just, taking
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, they should be more
Knowledge is
taking,
important. Yeah.
yeah, knowledgeable and
Yeah. And Mei Ching, how, any words for the World CMS
I
Day?
right. I just feel that on CML Day, I want to remind everybody again that everyone is an agent of change. So we can and we should believe that we as an individual can do something and make a difference.
Well, you certainly have made a lot of difference to the patients, Mei Ching. Believe it or not, you did. Okay.
Thank you.
And Pat, before we go,
Yes, thank you so much. I would say, first of all, that my wish is that every patient has access to the best treatment that they need, no matter where they live in the world. And there's still some work to be done. Geography should not be destiny, we say. All people should be able to face cancer with dignity and with hope. For CML, the goal right now is the treatment-free remission. We want all patients to be able to safely stop their treatment when they're ready and when the disease is under control. And my message to patients, especially, I want to give to say, please listen to your doctors and follow your treatment. And remember that researchers are still working day and night to find a cure. And your job is to be healthy. So when that cure comes, you can take advantage of that. So I do want to send a very warm message to, especially to all the people living with CML in Malaysia and everywhere. And I hope that we're going to meet in person soon again. And
thank
thank
you
you
very
to
much.
you, Dr. Harris, for all your work. The
Oh,
partnership
thank
with
you.
physicians such as yourself is very, very important in this work. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So, and with that, we would like to wish all the patient, all the caregiver, a happy and prosperous World CML Day. It's not a sentence. It is something that should bring us together, and hopefully one day when we find the cure, as Pat say, you'll be ready for it. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for dialing in, and thank you for your kind words and wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
bye bye everyone.